Thank you, Maradi, and thank you everybody for being here today for this webinar where we're going to talk about nutrition and how to eat well, how to eat in a healthy way, and especially when you're working at the office, but also outside of that. My name is Mark. I am a physiotherapist, a nutritionist, and a personal trainer, and I run a studio here in the center of Phnom Penh where we help people overcome problems with their health or with their fitness. For today's presentation, it is mostly about you, and therefore I'm going to ask you to get a piece of paper and a pen, or have something else that you can make notes, because we're going to take a look at how are you actually eating. You'll go through a little bit of a self-assessment as well, so we can have an idea of where are you now, how are you doing, and most importantly, what can you do to improve. See, we have a couple of people still coming into the seminar, into the webinar today. So in the meantime, as we wait for them, I have a little bit of a story that I would like to share with you, something that happened not that long ago. As I mentioned, we have clients that are coming in for many different issues. Some people might have pain or injuries. Some people might just want to live healthier, drop some weight, or put on some muscle. So we have this one person that is really trying hard to lose some weight, and he's training regularly, but he doesn't seem to completely understand what is a right way of eating. So he came in to one of our sessions, and he had a bottle of green tea. It was a green tea and lemon drink. I believe the brand is Oishi or something like that. I used to have it here, but I threw it out. When he came in, I asked him, like, why do you bring this to the session? And he said, well, before I always drink Coca-Cola, which everybody of course knows, not very healthy. So he decided to switch and have his green tea drink instead, which by itself is a good choice, you would say. But if you start to look at the label on the product, then we find out that actually it is maybe not so healthy as you might think. So together we looked at the label, and I asked him, what do you see in terms of the amount of sugar that is in this bottle? And then we find out that the sugar content is at least as much as in a bottle of Coca-Cola. So for your health goals, it really doesn't matter if you drink your Coca-Cola or you drink your green tea. So I guess the message from this story is, whenever you go into a supermarket and you choose a product that you feel like is healthy because it screams healthy or low sugar even, or always be a little bit aware, because sometimes companies are very creative with how they hide the actual ingredients. So try to learn, or try to become more aware of this. When you look at something, don't react too much to the health claims that products have on them. Okay, so what you will learn from today's workshop is the following. We're going to talk first about what is healthy eating. What do we consider healthy eating? I'm going to ask you to give me some input about that as well. Then we'll do a bit of a self-assessment. So how is your diet right now? We're going to go through a couple of questions there. You're going to get points, and at the end of the points you will get a score, and you will see how are you doing. Then we'll talk a bit about how to avoid concentration dips. You may have had those moments where you're working, or you go to lunch and then you come back and you just want to sleep. How can you avoid that? That's what we're going to talk about. And also the difference between brain hunger and belly hunger, and which one you should listen to. Then we'll go over some quick tips on things that you should be eating and should be avoiding. And we're going to make a shopping list as well. And we'll do that together, so that the next time you're going for your grocery shopping, you at least know what you should be buying, and you're already one step ahead in the right direction. So first, what is healthy eating? Everybody has a different idea of what is healthy eating. So I'm going to ask you to type in the chat box below one word that comes to mind when you're talking about healthy eating. If you don't have anything come to mind, I've hidden 15 words in the crossword puzzle over there, so you can always try to look at the the puzzle if you don't have anything come to mind. So I'll start it off. Somebody already started off with calories. I will say salad. That's what comes to mind. So go ahead and type something in. Eat vegetable and fish is a little bit more than one word, but I'll still take it. Calories, salad, eating vegetables and fish, fast food, and then less fast food, of course. Fruit, vegetable, on time. Sugar, sugar-free. Carbs or less carbs. Water and then more water. Fish, vegetables, cooking, vitamin, protein. Vitamin is also hidden in the crossword puzzle over there. So I see some interesting things already coming by. We'll give it another 15 seconds. So if you didn't put anything in the chat box, feel free to add something. Food, okay, that's makes a difference. So that's a very big answer. Time restricted. Some interesting answers there. I see some of you are already familiar with healthy eating. That's really good. Thank you. Now, for those that are wondering, where are those words hidden? They are really there. So we've hidden fish, diet, calories, spices, coffee, micronutrients. All of these are somewhere to be found, but you didn't need any help. Right? You got a good of some very good responses there. Marty, can you please launch the first poll? It would be good to get to know you, see who we have here with us today.
Yes, yep. Let me click. Oh. Mark, I have a problem that I cannot like inactive. So
all right, I've launched it right now.
Okay, okay.
So you should see a poll on your screen right now. Let's see, what is your age? Where do you live? Are you in Phnom Penh, Siem Reap, Kampot, maybe somewhere else? And also not unimportant, how do you rate your own diet, 1 to 10?
Did you launch it?
Yeah, maybe you're slightly behind. We're seeing here 50% is in the 25 to 35. We have a strong amount of people in 35 and 45. That is my category. So I5, big percentage in Phnom Penh, 91%, some from Siem Reap and some other locations. And how do you rate your diet? We have a couple of 5s. That's always a safe answer. Could be better, could be worse. Some people are a bit on the low end. Number 2, number 3. Still missing a couple of answers there. Some people are having a 7. That's pretty good. Hopefully we can bring it up a little bit if you're at the 2 or 3 or 4 range. Hopefully after this you'll be able to bring that up a little bit. So how to answer? You should be seeing a poll in your screen, and there should just be a way for you to click the answer that applies to you. If you don't see it in your screen, don't worry. We're going to launch another one in a bit later in this talk. All right, thank you for that. So you should be able to see here who else is in the group. Very strong Phnom Penh representation here. So thank you for that. So the official definition of healthy eating is a diet that maintains or improves your overall health. It's important to note that a healthy diet provides your body with all the essential nutrition. That means fluid, like water, and also macronutrients such as protein, fats, and carbohydrates. We need all of those in a certain amount. And also micronutrients. Those are vitamins, minerals, and then fiber. I have somebody joining in still. Can you let them in, Marty? Thank you. Okay, so before we go into the self-assessment, this happens really often, that people come in and they want to change their diet, live a little bit healthier, and I will ask them, how has your diet been today? What did you eat? And then sometimes people say, well, I've only had a coffee today, which can be a good thing, can be a bad thing, and hopefully you'll be able to see why. There is a pretty big difference between these two coffees, right? You probably know both of them. You can both get them from Starbucks or a brown or something like that. If you're familiar with what calories are, I already saw it coming by in the screen. Can you tell me how many calories do you think are in the left coffee? That's a frap, a salted caramel mocha. How many calories do you think are in that coffee? Go ahead and type that in the chat box. So I will say 150. I already know the answer, of course, so don't rely on me. If you don't drink coffee, then yeah, this doesn't apply to you. Very very specific. 385. No Googling. No Googling. 250. 500. They're pretty high, huh? How many calories? 120. 250. So you see the range is very very wide, right? Some people feel like it's very high, over 500. Some people feel like, oh, maybe 100, 150. Before I reveal it, a normal amount of calories per day is between 2,000 and 2,500. Now let me reveal the difference here. So in the coffee on the left, 570 calories. So that means if you're on a 2,000 calorie diet, which is normal for an adult female, and male are usually a little bit higher, 2,500, then by just having a coffee, you're already more than 25% of your daily intake in. Sugar, 73 grams. Now the daily amount recommended, maximum recommended, because sugar is not necessarily recommended or needed, is 30 grams. A little bit less for some, a little bit more, but depending on your activity level. But with this coffee, you're already way over your daily sugar intake. Fat, 19 grams. If you then compare that to a black coffee, just a filter coffee or an Americano, zero. So if you're telling somebody, oh, I've only had a coffee, it's very important to make the distinction. And next time you're going to your favorite coffee place, keep that in mind, because a bigger coffee is not always a better choice. Okay, just need to make the screen a little bit smaller over here and kind of explain what's going on here. Yeah, that's the benefit of the Americano. The black coffees are the best coffees, in my opinion. Okay, so in this, I need to explain this a little bit because we're going to do an exercise together. There are many models of healthy eating. They're different in different countries. So in the Netherlands, we have a model that's called the food pyramid, and we're going to take that as a sort of an example. Different countries have different systems. All the different systems have their benefits and their downsides, but at least you have a bit of an idea of how we think about healthy living. So you see on the left side, you see numbers, number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. The 5, the lowest layer, means these are staple foods. these are foods that we can eat regularly. And the higher you go into the pyramid, the less you should be eating of those. I'm going to ask you what goes where, right? So let's start with something relatively easy. This is something you might be familiar with, a bubble tea, delicious, of course. Where does this go? Can you type in the chat box? Does it go in number 1? Does it go in number 5? Where does it go? Do we need a lot of it every day? Yeah, so this is an easy one, right? Goes in number 1. Oh, and number 2. For some people, for some people it might be a number 2, but officially we want to limit this as much as possible. So, a number 1 for the bubble tea. What about rice? Where does rice go? Number 5. You're right. Staple food can be a number 5. Doesn't mean that you should be eating it all day, every day, right? But in general, that's where it goes. What about grains or let's say pasta? Where does that go? 5. Yeah. So this is all. Oh, 3. Okay. I was going to say this is way too easy, but we have a little bit of a difference of opinion there. But you're right. Pasta goes in the bottom along with grains like bread. It's a little bit big. Okay. Potatoes also belong in that out. Now, how about broccoli? Where does broccoli go? 4, 4, 4. Yeah, that's right. So vegetables. Yeah, and 3. You will see why this is a little bit confusing. I don't think 3 is a bad answer because this layer, number 4, is meant for vegetables. So maybe the bell pepper. What about an avocado? Is it a fruit or a vegetable? Avocado, a fruit or a vegetable? 3. It's a fruit. Yeah. Oh, I'm surprised by that. I thought I could trick everybody here, but apparently not. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for joining. What about a tomato? Oh, oops. Yeah. What about a tomato? Is it a fruit or a vegetable? So at least I can trick you a little bit. The tomato is officially also a fruit, so it goes in 3. So I put the fruits here. Okay. And what about meat? Meat. Number 2, exactly, with cheeses, with eggs, with fish. Okay, so we're getting pretty close to completing it. So I will go to the to kind of revealing the answer here. Let me go back to full screen. Go to the next slide. So yeah, and again, this is one of the classifications to put foods in different groups. You can see in the top sweets, cakes, oils. Basically, these are things with a low nutrition value or very high calorie value or both, just not something that you want to eat all the time. Then in the second layer, we have meat, fish, eggs, dairy, and nuts. I will look a little bit further into this in a moment. Then fruits and vegetables. Now, I think these are pretty much equally important. So whether you put them in 3 or in 4, personally, I would just combine them in one layer. But for the idea for the exercise, this is better. And then in the bottom, you have our staple foods, the grains, the rice, the potatoes. These foods designed to give us energy. Okay, so next up, we're going to do a little self-assessment. But before we do that, let's go over another poll, get a bit of an idea if the speed is okay. A couple of questions about your diet. So number 1, how many healthy meals do you eat per day? Less than 1, 2, more than 2? Question number 2, do you have a healthy weight? Are you underweight? Are you have a normal weight? Are you overweight? And then 3, how is the speed of this presentation? Is it okay? Or is it a little bit too fast, a little bit too slow? That helps me to make sure that the information is coming across well. take a moment to fill that in. Two healthy meals, on average 50%. Some people get less than one. Most people have a normal weight. In general, the speed of presentation seems to be good. A little bit slow. I am a little bit slow, so my apologies for that. That's very helpful. Thank you for taking the time to fill that in. You'll see the results here on the screen. Okay, so let's take a look. Oh, I went a little bit too fast there. So let's take a look at your diet right now. Find something to write on, because we're going to get points for this. We're going to go over a couple of questions, and whether you get the right, have the right answer, yes or no, you're going to get a point or not. So how was your diet yesterday? What did you eat yesterday? Okay, and I'll explain for myself as well. So yesterday, did you get 2 cups of vegetables? Did you get 2 cups of vegetables? If you did, you can give yourself a point. If you didn't, no points. I happened to get all my vegetables yesterday. Of course, I know I have a presentation today, so I have to get a good example in. The recommended amount for both fruit and vegetables is at least 1.5 cups, up to 2 cups, according to the CDC, sometimes even higher, towards 3 cups. So if you got this yesterday, give yourself a point, and then we'll move on to the next question. An obvious one, did you get enough fruit? I had a lot of watermelon yesterday, and I had a fruit juice that also had some vegetables, so that's where I get my amount. Find that a very easy way. There are some great places that do delicious fruit and vegetable juices. If you got your fruits and your vegetables in yesterday, you will have 2 points by now. Third question, water. Did you drink a minimum amount of 2 liters of water? Very important to help with focus, basically all the processes in your body. We are about 60 to 70% of water in total. So it's important that we keep that level at a good amount. Good for the kidneys as well, good for the brain. Did you get 2 liters of water? It's about 8 glasses of water. So if you did, you should be up to 3 points by now. By the way, this is a country where there's a lot of heat, there's a lot of sweating, so we lose a lot of water. In an air-conditioned space, we can also become a bit more dehydrated, so it's extra important in an environment such as Cambodia, right? Number 4, did you eat any nuts and seeds? This is something that you saw in the food pyramid. It's one of the things that I find when I'm working with clients. We typically find that's the most commonly forgotten food. So we need about a hand, 1 serving of nuts or seeds per day. And then on the other side here, you can see almonds. That means 20 to 30 Brazil nuts, 10, 15 cashews. Now, not all nuts and seeds are the same, right? Some are better than others in terms of nutrient profile, but a little bit too much to dive in that too deep. We'll just say, did you get any nuts and seeds? If the answer is yes, a hand, and great, you got 1 point. You didn't get any nuts and seeds at all, then yeah, no point. And then these are questions that can actually take some points off. Right, so did you have any sugary treats? Did you have any chocolate? Did you have any sodas, Coca-Cola, Red Bull, any ice cream, any donuts, any cake, any bubble tea? If the answer is yes, we're going to take 1 point off. Now I have to confess, I had some chocolate yesterday, so I have 1 point deducted. Then, did you have any alcohol? Also, alcohol, of course, can have a negative effect on your overall health, especially also cognitive, can influence your sleep and so on. So in general, we want to limit the alcohol intake. Now, some guidelines will tell you that a glass of wine per day is a healthy thing. You can debate that a little bit and decide for yourself. But in general, alcohol is not something that we want in our daily life. So if you had some, in this case, we're going to take 1 point off. Last one. Did you have any deep fried foods? Fries, fried chicken. Did you have any fried foods? One of the big ones, of course, were for heart problems, for cholesterol-related issues, general cardiovascular issues. Not something that you want to have too much of in your diet. So for this case, we're going to take 1 point off. So with that, that puts us in the at the end of this particular self-assessment. So go ahead and calculate the points. So for me, I had all the initial 4 points, but then I had 1 point off. So my score is 3 points. So go ahead and put your score into the chat box. And then if you scored 4 points, you did everything well, you had no points down, you are a champion, right? You've got everything well. If you had 3 points like me, come on, you can do a little bit better with small changes. Hopefully that day is just a 1 day out and not a good representation about your normal diet. I see a 3, I see a 1, I see a 2. Most people do pretty well. If you're between the 1 to 3 range, that means there's a little bit of RTI, a little bit of room to improve. Now, part of it is this session. The fact that you're here is already a step in the right direction. Hopefully, I can give you some tools and some tips to improve those small things. Get your vegetables in, get your fruits in, drink enough water, etc. Hopefully, with those tips, you can already improve a little bit. If you need more help, of course, we can help you out with that as well. Does anybody recognize this feeling? I don't work in an office at the moment, right? I work as a therapist, so I'm constantly going and sitting down and standing up and talking. And so I haven't had this feeling in a long time. But I did work in an office before, so I am aware. You go to lunch, you eat a little bit too much maybe, or a little bit too much of the wrong foods, and then you go back to work and you just want to sleep. Your brain is just not really helping out, and there's a reason for this, and you can avoid that. And the thing to remember from this is the glycemic index. I see I made a typo over there. It's not glycemic index, it's glycemic index. And I'm going to explain what that is. So this is not very technical, but if you look at the picture here, we have 2 different lines. We have the red line and we have the green line. So the red line indicates a high glycemic index, and the green one indicates a low glycemic index. And on the vertical axis, you see the blood sugar level. So what this means is you eat something, goes to the stomach, it has an effect when it's absorbed, and it has an effect on your blood sugar level. So if you eat something with a high glycemic index, like white rice, for example, what happens is you eat it, the blood sugar level goes up very fast, but then very shortly after starts to go down. And the moment when your blood sugar level crashes, we call that a crash, that's when you start to feel like you just want to go to sleep. Now, if you compare that to foods with a low glycemic index, we see that the increase and the decrease is a lot more smooth. Right, so the number one thing to do if you're struggling with that, if you find like, oh, after lunch I cannot really focus well, I just want to sleep, but there's two things you can do. One is go sleep, but that might not be the desired option for your employer. So and maybe not for yourself either. If you need to get a deadline done or something, you need your brain to focus. And the other option might be better, and that is choose a low GI version of what you normally eat. In case you're wondering, I have a little bit of an oversight here. So you can see at the bottom you have stuff like broccoli and actually most of the vegetables that we eat have a fairly low GI. So lettuce as well. And you can maybe kind of imagine already, if you have a salad for your lunch, the effect on your blood sugar level are going to be very, very different than when you have just rice, for example. I don't think many people eat only rice for lunch, but just to make a point, that the difference will be very big difference between you have a white bread and rice for lunch or spaghetti, or you have a salad for lunch. Now, not everybody is a salad person. The idea of eating salad every day might not be very appealing to you. Then keep in mind there are usually alternatives. So for white rice, you have, for example, brown rice. Brown rice has a different GI than white rice, and the same for pasta. Usually we have a normal white pasta processed, and we also have a multi-grain pasta that is that has a less significant effect on your GI. Okay, I hope that is clear. If you have questions about this or anything else, try to make note of them so that you can ask them later on. We'll have a little bit of time left to go over these kind of things. Okay. Next up, we have the brain hunger versus belly hunger. Right? This is something that a former mentor taught me. I found it very useful. And very often, when you get hungry, you feel like you want to eat something. You might want to ask yourself, who is telling you this? Is it your brain telling you that you're hungry, or is it your stomach? Right? That's telling you you're hungry. Because if it's your stomach, you might actually need energy. If it's your brain, it might just be that you want pleasure. That's the main difference between the two. And I'm going to help you to learn to recognize that. So if you look at belly hunger, so actual hunger, a sign that your body needs food, how can you recognize that? Usually it starts gradually, so it slowly builds up. 2, usually it can be fulfilled with a piece of fruit. When you feel hungry, you eat a banana, okay, you feel satisfied. 3, you can wait to eat. You can wait a little bit. You want to eat soon, but it's okay to wait. Sometimes there are sensations, so you might feel like your stomach is telling you something. You get some sound, some rumbling in the stomach. Usually it's eaten with awareness, and there's usually satisfaction after eating instead of guilt. Okay, take a look at those points, keep them in the back of your mind for a moment, and then we'll compare that to brain hunger. If it is the brain that tells you that you want food, usually it's something that comes up suddenly. You suddenly feel like, I want something, and you just start looking at the fridge or wherever you keep your snacks. That's number 1. Number 2, it's usually a craving for a certain kind of food. A bubble tea or a chicken wing or chocolate. This is a big one, of course. 3, usually you need it urgently, need it now. It's really on the forefront of your mind and you just want to get it and eat it and go. And that is because it's usually as a response to an emotion. So you might be bored, you might be stressed, you might be sad, you might be lonely. Many people have this emotional signal that they then choose to eat to eat that emotion away, right? So we call it emotional eating. That's definitely a brain hunger, not a stomach hunger. And then usually, this is probably the most important way to recognize it. You usually want more, or you want more of that food, even though you feel guilty about eating it. Let me repeat that. So you still want more, even though you feel guilty about eating it. So you open up that chocolate bar and you start eating it, and you kind of feel guilty about eating it, but you still eat more. That is a very typical sign that it's a brain hunger, not a belly hunger. Right? So now that you know this, try to become a little bit more aware. The coming week, when you're working or when you're at home, try to have that little moment, that extra moment of thought where you go, is this actually my body that needs food, or is it just my brain that wants pleasure? Right? I hope that makes sense. Okay, so this is something that just want to give you a bit of a list of some of the foods that we may want to focus on. The next time when you feel like, okay, I want to add some particular foods to my diet, things that help me to focus better, but I don't really know what to pick. I have a couple of options for you that might be a good choice. Something like fish. You already mentioned it before in the chat box, but fish is correct, but there are certain fish that are better than others. And this example, fatty fish, that like salmon, for example, like mackerel, like tuna even, those are great because they have a high level of omega-3 that helps to nourish the brain. Then we have berries, and then specifically blueberries, very high levels of antioxidants also help to support the brain. And we have vegetables, of course, like broccoli. And the chocolate might be a bit of a surprising one, but there's actually interesting benefits to chocolate. However, there needs to be a certain percentage of actual cacao. So most of the Mars bars or the Snickers or so on are mostly sugar. If you want to get the health benefits of chocolate, it needs to be a 70% and up. So I have some chocolate here in the fridge, 80%. A very different eating experience as well. It's quite bitter. But there are definitely benefits to eating those types of chocolate in a small amount. And then we mentioned this already, but nuts, very high in minerals and certain vitamins that are difficult to find in other sources. Of course, fruits, and then particularly fruits with high levels of vitamin C, such as orange. Eggs, you may have heard mixed signals about eggs and their effect on cholesterol, for example. In general, eggs are a really good source of nutrients, very nutrient dense, and vitamins that the brain really likes. And then mushrooms, and then also particular mushrooms like lion's mane, for example, they have something called BDNF. And that is something we like to call miracle grow for the brain. It really helps to nourish the brain and the communication between different parts of it. Okay, so next up, we're going to do some grocery shopping. But before, whoops, oh, I shouldn't spoil this. Okay, before we do that, I'm going to, oops, this is done. I have one more set of, oh, no, we're going to do that at the end, sorry. Do that at the end. We're going to do this first. Okay. Let's see, where's the chat? Lost everybody here for a bit. Okay, so I'm going to need your help for this particular drill. Now that you know all these, we talked a little bit about foods to avoid, foods to focus on. We're going to put together a little grocery list together. So what I want you to do is type in the chat box one item that you would buy if we would go and shop for groceries together? Knowing what we've gone over, what would you pick? Let's take 1 minute for that. Yeah, so you already see some things going on. Fresh milk, rice. That was mine. Cashews, nuts. Ah, there you go. Very smart. Fruit. Thank you, somebody. Have a good day. Rice, nuts, yogurt, vegetables, fruits, rice, fruit juice. We're already putting together a pretty good list. Fish sauce, milk, coffee, sugar, fruits. Yeah, try to think about the food pyramid and those 8 fruits that we just went over: bread, milk, coffee, and fruit. Because what we're trying to do here is trying to put together something that is nutrient dense, something that if we take that basket to the home, we'll be able to feed ourselves for some days with nutritious food. So no, not too much chocolate unless it's pure chocolate. All right, let's take a look. So I already prepared a little bit of a shopping list here. This is an idea of what I would buy if I go for some grocery shopping. I would pick broccoli or something like it. Milk, also already mentioned. I would pick some nuts, maybe a mixed bag of different nuts. By the way, much better to buy most of these things in the local markets. Many of you will probably know that a lot better than me, but if you go to a local market, the prices and the amounts and the quality are usually a lot better. So broccoli, milk, nuts, eggs, mushrooms, tomatoes, apples, yogurt. Most of these things are mentioned by you, so this is great. I would have some muesli. That's just something that I really like to put in the yogurt. Bread, maybe a chicken fillet or something like that, and some fruits like bananas. Now, in this case, when I get this in a grocery store, I would spend between $15 and $20. But I am 100% convinced you go to a local market, you can get a much better price, or you can buy a lot more. But I'll let you try to figure that out. Okay, so we're getting closer to the end of this presentation. We're going to round it up soon, but before that, I would like to hear from you after the things that we went over. Can you let me know what will you improve after today's workshop? Is there one thing that stands out to you? If you okay, that is something that I'm going to change. So I'm going to ask you to type in the chat box, I will improve the following. So here we go. Drink more water. Reduce taking high calorie meals, snacks. Those are great ones. Share the file. The video is being recorded. Yeah, that's no problem if you want to watch that back on a different day. Eat more veggies. Great one. Drink fruit, water. Thank you for joining. More variety in my food. That is also a good one. I don't see any. Drink less bubble tea. That's what I was expecting. Check on my daily habits. Check them against food pyramids. It's also good. Drink more water and healthy food. Great one. Reduce sugar. All good answers. More fruit, vegetables. Excellent. Already, if you're already undertaking healthy eating, yeah, that's of course great. Then I would say keep up the good work. Follow the shopping list. Great. Eat fresh. Compare prices against local market and grocery stores. That would be an interesting one as well. I might give that a little try for myself. Eat fresh. Excellent. These are all very good answers. Less fried food. Yeah, all very good. Thank you for that. So I want to explain a little bit about a little gift that we have for you. But we have one more question. So if you would take a moment to answer that question for today, and this is interesting for me as a facilitator, which part of this workshop was the most valuable to you? Was it the self-assessment? Was it the explanation about the GI index? Was it the brain versus stomach? Was it the foods that you can eat to help with your brain health? Yes, you can choose more than one. All right, great. So that's yeah, it's very helpful for me. Is that the brain versus stomach is a big favorite. That's great. Thank you. Thank you for that. Your participation in these things very valuable. So thank you. Yeah, Q&A is coming up. So one more thing that I want to mention beforehand, if you want to do, if you want to take this a little bit deeper, that's possible. We offer these kind of things at your the company that you work for. I think Gabriel and or Mardi will have some additional information to give for that. That's a 2-hour version. And what we do in that, we really go a layer deeper. So these are general guidelines that should be useful, but not really tailored to you. During those 2 hours, we're really going to see how does this apply to you? How much calories do you need? How much fat do you need? How much protein, etc., do you need? And how do you make those changes in your life? So if you're interested in that, we have a voucher for you. As you participated for this, you can bring that up to your management, and if they're interested, then we will be more than happy to do that either online or actually at your place of work as well. Gabriel and Mardi, do you have anything to add for
that? So for this, sure, it's a special offer for those who have joined our webinar. And also, firstly, thank you, Mark. Wow, that was very useful. I even can speak from experience on the GI, well, because I had a 3-course meal for lunch, and now but I feel it. So
you just woke up.
Yeah. So just to share a bit of the context, why is the capacity specialist focusing on a topic like this? So basically, we are of the philosophy that if people want to perform well in the workplace, they need to feel well. And food is like our fuel. If we are not putting the right fuel in, then we will not be able to perform at our best. So we run a whole series of sessions with Mark on all types of subjects or areas that can help you and your teams feel much better in the workplace, so that you and your organization are able to perform well. So feel free to reach out to us if this is something you would like to learn more about. And in the meantime, this is a fantastic offer when you think about it on a per person price for the value they will get. So thank you all.
Thank you, Gabriel. Okay, so we bring it over to a Q&A if there's any questions. Is it possible to get the slide presentation? I think that's possible, right? The talk is recorded, and I think it's live streamed now as well. So you can get both the full presentation along with the slides. Whether we can actually send the slides, I guess that would be possible. Let me just ask Gabriel Mardi.
Yeah, we can send slide with the recording along with the recording. Yeah.
So
Okay.
we ask for you to fill in the feedback. So if you fill in the feedback, then we can send it to you. So yeah.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions? Somebody asking about a Q&A. If there's a question, then please either raise your hand in the in Zoom or just type it in the chat box. We'll take a minute or two to see if there are any questions. In the meantime, I wanted to just mention if you need some personal help, then that is possible. We have a team of coaches at our place, Movement. You can scan the QR code if you want to know more about who we are and what we do. Feel free to reach out. I see a question. Mr. Chorn, Miss or Mr. Chorn?
Yeah. Sao Chorn.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good
And,
afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon.
Thank you very much for the interesting presentations and also useful. We learn a lot about the quality of the food. My question in relation to, I have learned and practices, that the breakfast or the morning meals is absolutely important. And for being healthy and to have energy enough, we should start with the breakfast in the morning, 1 hour after getting up, something like that. But recently, when there are popular and most people, really interested in intermittent fastings, then there's a lot of documents saying that, any meals have the same value, the same importance, as long as the quantity and the quality of the foods responding to our body need. And a lot of professionals that they said that intermittent fastings providing a lot of benefits in comparing to 3 meals. Then it encourages to take only 2 meals without snacks to provide better outcome. Do you have any idea on that? Whether the breakfast is important or intermittent fastings provides better benefits?
It's a good question, and
thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your question. It's a good one. I think I'll ask you a question back, or let me put it this way: the word breakfast comes from breaking fast.
Agree.
Right. So if we talk about the definition of breakfast, it just means basically your first meal after a fast. Whether you have that meal in the morning, first moment you wake up, or if you have it after a period of intermittent or a period of fasting. So you're probably referring to something like 16/8. If you fast for 16 hours and then you have your first meal afterwards, whether that meal is in the morning or in the afternoon, it's still breaking fast. So it's still breakfast. There's two answers to your question. One, I think the importance of breakfast in the morning is partially marketing by companies that produce things like cereals. You'll find that they find it very important that should be the first meal of your day, but I don't think that's entirely correct. I do think it's important that your first meal is a healthy meal. Is it necessarily more important than your lunch and your dinner? I don't think so. So I think the total nutrients within a feeding window, if you're eating for 8 hours, in the example of intermittent fasting, the goal should be to get your macronutrients, so your energy, protein, carbohydrates, fats, and your micronutrients, so your minerals and your vitamins. You should have that in your feeding or your eating window. Whether or not fasting is a good approach for you, or a more traditional meal or a more traditional approach of breakfast, lunch, and dinner, that really depends on the goals. I know some people that are bodybuilders. They are trying to get 3,000 or 4,000 calories in one day. They cannot compress that into an 8-hour eating window. So for them, it's better to have just a sort of traditional way of eating, where you eat in the morning, in the lunch, and in the dinner. But I also know many people that have a lot of benefits from fasting, including myself. So I'm a big fan, but I do make sure that my first meal when I break fast is a highly nutritious one. Does that answer your question?
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, it quite convincing. I just, you see, has been convinced about a few days ago that intermittent fasting is really a good regime for not only weight management, but also improving other health elements.
I fully agree, and I think it's definitely worth to try and experience it for yourself.
I just started experiment on myself 16/8 intermittent fastings a month ago.
Great. I'm convinced that you'll get some benefits out of it. So
well, I already got huge benefits. You see, I reduce the total body fats. My total body fats has been reduced from 24% to 18%.
Wow, that's a great that's
and
great progress.
Belly fats are using Tanipa machines to measure the belly fats, which you know, before I took in intermittent fastings, the number 15, which indicates the high risk already. And now, after 1 month, it reduced to number 13, on the border of fitness.
Great. So sounds like the experimenting pays off.
Yeah.
I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah.
I would say keep it up.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mark, again.
Mark, there's another question.
Okay. Is it better to have morning milk or night milk? I'm not quite sure what morning milk. Okay, so I guess the way I understand it, to have milk in the morning or in the evening. I don't think it's a big difference. I know some people like to drink warm milk in the evening as it has a sort of a restful effect on sleep. I'm not sure how scientific that is, but I think in general it won't matter that much. Yeah, I see we're going a little bit over time, so let's see if there's any other urgent questions. Otherwise, we're going to leave everybody to go on with their day. And yeah, please take a moment to fill in the feedback. That's really helpful for me to see where which elements are good, which elements we can add or improve. So it would be very helpful if you can fill that in. Other than that, I would say thank you, and I will give it over to Gabriel and Marady if you have anything else to say, and otherwise we'll log off.
So, Gab, do you have any more to add more?
No.
Okay. Okay. So I think it's time to finish our session now. So let me say thank you so much everyone for joining with our webinar today. We appreciate for your time to spend with us until to the end of the webinar. And yep, thanks again for joining, and please have a nice day. Bye bye.
Thank you, everybody.